Took you long enough.
His voice called from quite a ways away, but of course he could hear you coming. You mentally cursed at yourself for not being quieter as you approached your target, but the theatre you saw him enter echoed and you were wearing heels. The reason you didn't kick them off the moment you were in pursuit of the infamous Katsuki Bakugou was beyond you. You poked your head around a stage curtain and saw him lounging in a theatre chair with his arms draped around the seats beside him. He smirked up at you.
Well, we don't have all damn day.
To hell with trying to be sneaky. You already knew where this was going to lead you. You strutted out to the center of the stage and crossed your arms. Why a theater? His grin widened as he stood up and walked towards the stage. He wore a white dress shirt with a skinny red tie that fit neatly in his black vest. He leaned against the thrust, resting his arms against the stage, and cast a lasting stare at your legs. You shifted your weight. You thought what you wore had been a little too tight, and the way Bakugou was looking at you now had confirmed your suspicion.
I was hoping you would put a show on for me.
I don't have time for games, Bakugou. Where is she?
She who? There's nobody here except me and you, sweetheart.
You scanned the auditorium. All empty seats. No sign that anyone had been anywhere near here for at least a couple hours. You shook your head and turned on your heel and started marching away from the blonde. Kiyomi Sakamata had to be somewhere else in the building. A blast rang and echoed throughout the theater. You tensed and closed your eyes. Here we go! A hand grabbed the back of your arm and pulled you around. You ducked and slid under him, trying to kick him down, but he tucked and rolled back to his feet, facing each other. It had been Kugo Sakamata's niece's wedding, and since you had formed a pretty tight bond with him and his family while working under him for a few years, you had been invited to witness two people form an eternal bond. Halfway through the reception, there had been an explosive ruckus, and Kiyomi Sakamata had been taken. You didn't get a great look at him, but you were sure you saw the kidnapper wielding the same grenade gauntlets as the man standing before you, who usually carried them with him. Taking in his current appearance, you laughed. You dressed up? For me? Rolling up his sleeves, he chuckled and shook his head.
I had to blend in somehow, didn't I?
You did a double take on his vest. He was sporting the same look as the other servers in the reception hall, so he had been there. That was smart of him. Gluttonous celebrators never looked twice at people providing service to them if they were doing their jobs right, especially if they were serving food or champagne. Damn it, Bakugou! You moved towards him, kicking upwards towards his face. He ducked and towered over you. You pushed him against one of the stage props and grabbed him by his tie, pulling his face down to level with yours. Where is she? His smug eyes looked at you and then to your lips. There was a complacent grin stuck to his face.
I don't have her, and I never did. She's back at the reception hall enjoying her time with her significant other. I just needed a way to get you here.
That didn't make sense. You saw someone take her and had been at the reception. He laughed at your puzzled expression.
You just took off so fast, didn't you? Eager to see me? So what are you going to do now that you have me all to yourself, huh?
His hands were on your wrists, and he pushed you off of him. You stumbled back, catching yourself before you could fall. No, give me a break. You conducted all this just to spend time with me? Was I not giving the poor little boy enough attention?
Don't act like I don't see right through you, traveler.
Bakugou began loosening the tie that hung around his neck.
You saw me walk in here alone. You knew she wasn't with me, and yet here you are, pretending to fight me. Admit it. You've missed me.
You swung a fist through the air and he dodged it. He was laughing. Every time you swiped, he was always evading. You finally managed to grab onto a fistful of his collar and he grabbed your arm. Struggling to break away from his hold, your hand quickly sliced down his chest. The buttons of his shirt popped off and danced across the floor. Droplets of his own blood fell from the cut you left him.
Oh, so now we're undressing each other, are we?
Your eyes slid down his exposed chest and onto his abdomen. You hated the blush that crept into your cheeks, and you hated yourself even more for wanting to run your hands down his stupidly ripped body.
Remember that time in our second year when you accidentally walked in on me changing after a hero drill? How you squealed out an excuse for your intrusion and you couldn't even look me in the eyes?
You did remember. It wasn't like you hadn't ever seen him shirtless before that day, but just the fact that you could have been walking in on him at any point of his routine was what got you flustered. You rolled your eyes. It was always reminiscing with him. You moved your hand to cross-check him, but he easily dodged it and grabbed your arm to twist you around so you faced away from him. He spoke into your ear.
Do you remember what we did after that?
You slammed your elbow into his jaw, knocking him back. You've always been an arrogant prick, you jeered. He was cupping his face. He spat onto the stage, and you could see a spot of blood on his mouth.
And you've always been shitty,
he growled. He ran towards you. Before you could even react, he had you spun around and pushed up against him.
Always so easy to read. Hey, why don't you do yourself a favor and admit to me what this actually is, yeah?
You thrashed in his arms, but he only pulled you closer, proving there was no manner of escaping.
Admit that you get a thrill whenever you find me up to my not-so-conventional schemes. Admit that you love having me up against you like this.
He pushed his sharp chin on your shoulder.
Hell, we both know what this is, I'm sure. You haven't even used your quirk all night long.
You wanna talk?
You spat.
This has all just been a game to you for a while now. You haven't actually done anything bad in weeks.
But I could do something bad right now.
He purred in your ear.
I could do a lot of bad things to you.
He loosened his grip and placed a hand on your hips, squeezing lightly.
I hate you.
I'm sure you wish that were true.
He sewed and began kissing your neck. You let out a slight sigh and moved your neck, allowing his kiss to deepen. His hands trailed down your sides, and he placed his calloused fingers between your thighs, sending shivers through your body. You felt him harden as he pressed against you.
Fuck.
You swatted his hands away and faced him. He had his signature shit-eating grin on, the one that you remember him doing as kids. You pulled at your clothes and adjusted your now messy hair. You pursed your lips at him, admiring your handiwork. You drew his blood and there was hardly a scratch on you. He never did really hurt you, did he? You shook your head.
I have a wedding reception to get to,
you said. He lifted his hands up and chuckled.
I'm not keeping you.
There was, however, a hint of disappointment in his eyes.
Then what the fuck are you doing?
He didn't answer. Ignoring the thrum of your heart, you began to walk off the stage.
It's funny,
he called, and you stopped.
The wedding. I mean, the concept of forever.
You glanced back at him and he was smirking.
It makes me wonder how long we can keep this up. Do you think it'll be forever?
You narrowed your eyes. Is that some kind of proposal? Bakugou?
All I'm saying is, I wouldn't mind if we did this forever.
His smirk had softened into something that seemed to be a normal smile. He wasn't putting on an act to get you flustered. You turned your face to hide yours.
You're a sap.
You know that? You could hear that dumb snicker.
Hey, you put on a good show, sweetheart. But make sure next time you stick to your character, hero.
You heard a blast to signal his exit. You made the same promise to yourself that you've made the last dozen times you saw him. Next time you'll get him. Little did you know that Bakugou was making a similar promise to himself as he watched you walk down the street, back to the wedding reception.